we would hope that the interim government will be able to take care of the security of
A very
all
important point that the
communities.
Prime Minister did point out about the minorities and Hindus. Why do you think
Yes,
that? Why
yes.
do you think that the Bangladesh, as a civil society, fails to accommodate the interest of the religious minorities?
The problem is the history. Historically, the politics in Bangladesh, unfortunately, the way it has evolved, it has been extremely sharp and sharp and strong. I mean, the sense of accommodation towards the other parties, which should be there in a normal democracy, uh, was not there. And when one party, the BNP, was in power, they mistreated the others. When the other party, the Awami League, was in power, same thing happened with other parties. So that is something that should change, because ultimately, Bangladesh should not go the Pakistan way. Bangladesh should charter its own course, its own way. And the example of the past 2 decades has shown that Bangladesh can prosper by having good relations with its neighbors, particularly India, large economy, which is intimately connected to Bangladesh. India has tried its best to give preferential treatment in
Okay.
terms of power, in terms of trade, in terms of communication, transport facilities, and so on. I mean, Bangladesh and India are intimately tied and linked, and we should take advantage of this rather than sort of cursing India, or rather than criticizing India, or mistreating the Hindu community, or mistreating those who have been close to India in whatever ways. So I think we hope that the new interim government would be able to chart a course which
Okay.
would ensure
Okay.
the progress and prosperity and
Okay.
stability.
Okay. I'm also joined by Mr. Kabir, Mr. Humayun Kabir, former Foreign Secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Bangladesh. Sir, there are two things here. One, the appeal by the Indian Prime Minister Modi and his concern over the religious minorities being attacked, one. And secondly, the sort of statement which came from a senior BNP functionary saying that the relationship in context of Hasina can see turbulence because, she's in India, but India as a liberal democracy has done it all throughout its life. Dalai Lama is the best example. Aung San Suu Kyi studied in New Delhi. India has hosted various leaders, sir. Mr. Kabir.
Oh, yes, yes. Thank you very much. Yes, we welcome the statement made by Prime Minister Modi yesterday following the formation of the interim government led by Professor Mohammad Yunus. We are in an extraordinary situation. We must understand the context. The context was the people's uprising against a kind of, if I may put it, borrowing from others, a kind of period of misgovernance, mistreatment, torture, and eventually the killing of around 400. And today's report saying that during the last 23 days, 700 people died in Bangladesh, including policemen. So you understand the kind of situation that we were in just 5 days before. So against that background, I mean, you have to. I invite my Indian friends to understand that this is a kind of turbulence that we had to face, and in that context, we are as concerned as concerned about the minorities as other communities as well, because when the law and order situation becomes little uncertain, that affects everybody. So I can assure you that whatever I could understand from the initial pronouncements by Professor Yunus, and also today the cabinet met and advisory committee met, and then I heard the press briefing. They prioritized the restoration of law and order as number one priority. And I think it is not only the government, the military has prioritized that issue. All other forces have prioritized that issue. And the major driver of this time, the student community, the student leaders, they have also prioritized that issue. And in fact, they have formed student squads in throughout the country to protect minority establishments.
Can I ask you something point blank, sir?
Sorry?
Can I ask you something point blank?
Sure.
Why
Sure,
has
please.
BNP taken an anti-India position? I mean to say, my question was, Sheikh Hasina has left. People of Bangladesh have decided, and it has to be respected because it's a decision by the Awam of Bangladesh. But why would a political party say that the relationship between Bangladesh and India would get hit or affected because Sheikh Hasina is there? That is why my question was, India has a liberal tradition of hosting so many leaders,
Well,
such as
I
Dalai
cannot,
Lama.
yeah, I understand the question, and I cannot stand for BNP because I don't know why they have said that. But what I can tell you from outside, when her son is making a statement that she will return to Bangladesh, given the explosive situation that we had, and you know why that happened, I had just explained. And now, if there is any move that she could come back, and if there is a perception, I would not say fact, perception that India is perhaps giving us that opportunity, that will create more volatility in Bangladesh, and nobody wants that. So I think from Bangladesh side, BNP, I don't know why what BNP has said or why they have said that, but the general feeling is that if she is now a past for Bangladesh politics as far as the current situation is concerned. If the situation stabilizes, and if their side can contribute, and the other side should also contribute, I believe everybody should stay away from any comments that can
Okay.
inflame the internal situation and also have an impact on our relationship with India and other neighbors. So I fully agree with you that nobody should say anything that can, at this moment, very, I would say, volatile moment, that can affect the relationship or understanding or create further volatility. We don't want that.
Mr.
So,
Chakma, Mr. Chakma, your take on it, because it's a two-pronged question. One is in the context of the religious minorities, and the Prime Minister Modi has spoken, explicit and clear. And the second is about India hosting leaders. We have hosted so many leaders. It's a perceptual thing. Dalai Lama is here. Senior Sri Lankan leaders stayed here. Aung San Suu Kyi studied in this country, went back. And so can Sheikh Hasina. In fact, India boasts of it.
No, I would say I don't think it should be taken that seriously, what has been said by the BNP. At the end of the day, BNP is not in power. BNP is not the government of the day. And, the movement had been led by the students, and they are in charge, of the entire movement. So BNP, may have contributed to it. But basically, as the student leaders have made it clear that, the movement had been fought not for any particular party. If it was fought for the BNP, then BNP would have been in power. My fear is, I think, Mr. Gayesh is misreading the situation. The situation is still evolving. I think one of the key facts which we have to keep in mind is that people in Bangladesh are tired of both the BNP and the Awami League. They are tired of Sheikh Hasina and Begum Jia quarreling over the issue, and people have been trying to, bring out some kind of a third party or third force for a long period of time, and it has not happened because of the repression by both the parties. And for the first time, I think there is a group of people who are in power who do not belong to the Awami League or the BNP, and he should be careful that tomorrow they might not be, they might be complaining against the government of the day in Bangladesh, and Awami League and the BNP may have to come together to fight against the government of the day, because BNP is looking at elections in 3 months' time. That's their declaration. And I don't think you can have the election in 3 months' time, because it will take some time for the government to restore the situation, to bring some confidence. So some political leaders somewhere saying it reflects possibly the point of view of the BNP, but it's it's just trash talk kind of thing.
This rhetoric caught my, it just caught my attention. One leader may not sum up the entire party. I agree with you, Suhas. One leader may not sum up the entire party, but one leader can also tell you the mood, the popular sentiment. the sword cuts both ways. He might not be representing everyone, but he might represent a sentiment. And I'm very happy to say that Shahidul Alam, author and social activist, joins me live from Dhaka. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me from Dhaka. Your comments, sir.
I couldn't hear everything, so I might have missed a few things, but I was able to hear things which I would like to question. You began by saying it was a military-backed government. It is not a military-backed government. It's a civilian government, and the military has a separate role. The military has no control over this government at all. So that is a misinformation.
I think one of the panelists must have said it. I didn't. One of the panelists must have said it. Our discussion was on two things. Our discussion was on two things. One, the statement of Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the protection of religious minorities in Bangladesh. And secondly, BNP leaders saying that Sheikh Hasina staying in Delhi could probably impact the relationship between Bangladesh and India.
Sure.
So my counter question is...
I'm getting on to that.
Yeah. So my counter
because
question
I
is...
heard the statement, but yeah,
fair enough, but that's not the core thing. The core thing is India has a tradition of hosting leaders as a country, like Dalai Lama.
No, you also said Sheikh Hasina's leaving was a decision by the people. It was not a decision by the people. The people of Bangladesh never chose for her to leave. In fact, she's a killer, and what the Bangladeshi people want is for her to be tried for the killings that she's done. So let's not misinterpret that. But I will come back to the general things, as you rightly pointed out. I mean, obviously, India is effectively Bangladesh's only neighbor. I mean, there's this tiny bit of Myanmar. It's also a major trade partner. It makes no sense for Bangladesh to not have a cordial relationship with India, especially given that India has played such an important role in the liberation of Bangladesh. But it needs to be a relationship of mutual respect and not of subservience. There is very little doubt that India played a major role in propping up the legitimate regime of Sheikh Hasina. In return, Hasina entered numerous trade deals, none of which were transparent. We as the public don't know what these deals are. They've never been declared to us. But these are deals with India where in every case, it is India's national interest which has been favored over Bangladeshi national interest. So the person earlier saying that, we were given preferential terms is laughable. Yeah, India profited in the short term, but by favoring its puppet regime over the people of Bangladesh, it has lost the trust of the Bangladeshi public. And I think this is a serious mistake. I hope India will correct its course and that the two countries will develop an equitable partnership. Not only Bangladesh and India, but the entire region will benefit as a result.
Okay. I think the best person to answer this is Ambassador Yogesh Gupta. Sir, I want your comments on it.
No, I will agree with the first two speakers, who said that this is a sensitive time and we have to, everyone has to come together and let Bangladesh evolve its own polity, its own traditions. India has absolutely no desire to interfere in the internal processes of Bangladesh. But I don't agree with this last speaker who said that these agreements are secret and India has tried to profit from them. This is a very, very narrow and partisan view. And I don't think anybody else, I haven't heard anything of this sort from anyone else. So this is just the view of the gentleman who said this. These agreements are in public domain. There is nothing hidden about it. India has not profited in any way. India has tried its best to invest in Bangladesh. We created the capacity for power generation. Now we are importing power. I mean, we have tried to help Bangladesh in every possible way. It's very unfair to say that India has taken any unilateral advantage out of this. So I totally disagree and debunk the statement of this last speaker. But otherwise, yes, we'll be very sensitive to what is happening in Bangladesh. We will try to extend all possible help to Bangladesh in its journey towards political stability, in its journey towards working out its own political processes. And we won't have any intention to interfere in the processes of Bangladesh in any way, as far as India is concerned.
Alam, I think Ambassador Gupta has, I think, replied to your observation. But I would definitely say that India is not responsible for putting up a puppet regime.
Well, let me question that. I mean, certainly that is the version that is being presented, and there are many things that are being presented, particularly by Indian media. But he was talking about it being my opinion. In fact, what I would like to quote is one of the most popular memes that are circulating on social media today within Bangladesh. And I quote, India wants to see a poor, corrupt, undemocratic Bangladesh led by a kleptocrat called Sheikh Hasina. This is one of the most shared memes on social media today within Bangladesh. And you might not agree, but that is certainly the perception that there is.
Absolutely, I
sorry?
disagree. Mr. Alam, I can choose to disagree. I absolutely disagree. But the fact of the matter is, it can also be a conspiracy to whip up anti-India feelings.
Well, I think one of the things that the Indian media has done, it's talked about this demon of extremism that's coming in and everything else. And that's actually parroting the Army League line. When the Army League was killing people in the streets, they were talking of this third force, this invisible force, whereas in fact, it was the Chhatra League, which was in the streets killing people. And this is a trope that Army League has been trying to sell for a very, very long time. And it's unfortunate that either Indian media has swallowed it or it's deliberately trying to deceive us.
I think there are two parts of this conversation. Indian media is a stakeholder in Indian progress, but the fact of the matter is that relationship of Bangladesh and India is between two independent countries, and I think goodwill exists between people. And there can be conspiracies to cast and paint India in a different light. To have a friendly relationship with the previous regime doesn't mean that India owed it. The fact is that we were invested. Suhas, you wanted to come in? It was a very strong argument to which I completely disagree with Mr. Alam. Suhas.
No, I think if you are in power for 15 years, then there are bound to be conspiracy theories. And, there will be perceptions of misinformation or information on social media. One could say, or, many people in Bangladesh might say that, Hasina was a puppet of the Indian government. But on the other hand, you could also have the statement of the Russian ambassador a couple of months back to say that, if Hasina comes back to power, then the Americans are going to do this, do that. I mean, I don't think one should, go into these kind of things which cannot be proven. I mean, I think what is essential is to realize the fact that Bangladesh or any other country for that matter, they cannot change their neighbors. And, the former ambassador of Bangladesh had said that, India is the only neighbor of Bangladesh because you do not have that kind of a relationship with Myanmar. In fact, Bangladesh is surrounded from all sides by India. So I think it's time, to look at it beyond what to say, the general feelings which come out of the, incumbency of a particular government for a long period of time. I mean, that is not necessarily the case. But if Hasina didn't want it, I don't think the government of India could have intervened. A government can intervene only when a particular party is interested. And there is no government in the world which doesn't want to ensure its own interest. It doesn't matter whether it's India, China, United States, or any
I do
other
agree
country.
with you. I do agree with you, Suhas. But the biggest concern is that in the so-called South Asian region, SAARC, India, and I'm not saying this out of arrogance, that barring 2 years, 75 and 77, India has been a successful case of a post-colonial state with a very liberal democracy. We might have had our problems, but India hosts a huge, more than 15 crore Muslims live in India. More than 15 crore Muslims live in India. It's a Hindu-dominant country, and we have a successful liberal democracy and a secular constitution to boast of. So I think what is a challenge for India is to ensure that the relationship between India and Bangladesh remain on a saner platform. But the larger challenge is that the linguistic and the religious fallout in which the common people suffer is something that needs to be protected. Bangladesh has an interim government. They also have a caretaker prime minister. Number of appeals have been made, but anti-India rhetoric has not subsided. A senior functionary of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party issued a strong statement on India-Bangladesh relationship on Thursday. The issue was Sheikh Hasina, who has been given refuge by India. Gayeshwar Roy, a veteran BNP leader, said that while mutual cooperation between Bangladesh and India is crucial, India actions are